DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Welcome to DJNTV and Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Now introducing the one and only Ben Stowe.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
And there it goes. We're talking latency, and then, of course, when I go to click and say go, it just doesn't go.
What a great way to start a show, talking about latency. So.
Yeah, exactly. Talking video.
We just wanted to demonstrate it, right?
I did. I wanted to show that it's like, okay, clicking dead. But in this case, though,
physics is real.
In this case, what I needed to do is probably repair disk permissions for some reason on a Macintosh when you're doing this, that, and that all together. If I don't do disk permissions every week, repair disk permissions. So if you're an Apple person out there and you don't run disk utilities and run the disk permissions about weekly, you're probably having some performance issues. Just there we go. Public service for Apple people.
You know, you just dated yourself when you said Macintosh.
Apple.
Nobody says Macintosh anymore.
Okay, fine. Now my feelings are hurt.
Your kids and your loud rock music.
But that's okay. We're going to play Lemonade Stand once the show is over tonight, and it's going to be fabulous.
All right.
You remember that?
No.
Oh man, God, I'm really
dating yourself now.
So back when they came out with the very first Macs, the really only thing, it was a game called Lemonade Stand.
Okay.
And it was where you would go and you would figure out, okay, how much I need this and I need this and I need this, and then it would be a hypothetical running a lemonade stand, and okay, you had this many people come through, here's your profit, and now you were reinvesting and it was more of a DOS type game, that quality.
Okay. I played a lot of Risk. I don't know if you remember Risk on old black and white Macs. Yeah, we played a lot of that. I could pretty much, get that down. But it's funny, now that you've really dated yourself, I remember us being at an airport together not that long ago, and I was on the hunt for ice cream, and you said that, you had recently had a birthday, and now you had to start eating like a grown-up. And I had asked you what our age difference was. I just wanted to know how many more years I had that I could still not eat like a grown-up. So...
Oh yeah, it's a sad reality.
I think that day came quicker than I expected.
Yeah, it kind of slaps a person upside the head really quite quick. So let's get into tonight's topic. Tonight we're going to talk about transmitting of video signal. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to this. There's more than we probably ever want to know, truthfully.
There really is. I think this is one of those topics that even I don't like. It's one of those things where you just would like to plug in a cable and it would work. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be so darn complicated. And HDMI of all the protocols out there is exceptionally complicated. There's so many different parts to this, and they keep adding more. And they're for utility purposes, but it really frustrates people because I think people don't understand, why can't I plug in these two things and just have them work? Mm-hmm. And then when you give them the answer, then they really get mad because they don't want the answer. It's almost rhetorical in nature. Why do I have to buy more expensive cables? Why can't this thing talk to this thing? And just so many things, which we'll undoubtedly get into. So friends, buckle up because this is going to get gritty. But here's the deal. We can't wish it away. You can sit there and, kick the thing or yell at the thing or, just wish it would just work. But those days are gone. So
let's kind of set the table just a little bit. As a DJ, there are times where I want to run video from my laptop to screens, projection screens. Could be near, could be far. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. There's also times where, as some DJs are doing some minor production, that they have a camera, and they want to have a live camera on the stage. So a lot of the things we're going to be talking about, we'll be able to handle different aspects of what we potentially could do or are doing now. Mm-hmm. So let's dig into it.
Boy, where do you want to start?
Well, I want to start. I've got this laptop, you see.
Yep.
And I have this projector over there, you see. Mm-hmm. Let's make those two talk to each other and be happy.
All right. Let's assume, for the sake of discussion, that the laptop and the projector both have HDMI.
Which pretty much everything modern.
Yeah. Let's just forget about all other video formats for now. RGB is really kind of a thing of the past. Sorry, RGB, and I dated myself. RGB HV is kind of a thing of the past, that being like the VGA type, that sort of thing. So really, in most laptops don't have SDI, which we could talk about in a minute. There's adapters, but let's just assume that you want to just connect HDMI from the laptop to the projector. Two critical things are going to be resolution, and whether or not the projector can support the resolution, and whether or not your cable can support the resolution. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about cable because that is probably the number one failure point. Again, people are buying cables from, I'm not going to name places online, but just, we'll just say the cheaper places online. And then they're like, oh, this thing doesn't work. Yeah. Well, there you have it. I got bad news. It is kind of one of those get what you pay for sort of situations. However, I have good news that solves a lot of our problems. So assuming the projector can handle the resolution and the cable can handle the resolution, we're probably in good shape, except for one other little gotcha, and that is HDCP, which is basically designed to prevent copying of high definition content. And so we run into issues with HDCP because there are new versions. 1.6 is no longer going to work with 2.2. So if we have a device that has 1.3 or 1.6 or whatever, and we try to plug it into something that's 2.2, it just breaks, and that's the end of it. There are devices now from the HD Base T Alliance that will reclock HDCP, and actually reclock is probably not even the right word. I would just say regenerate, fix it.
Fix it, yeah.
Yeah, make it compatible.
Fix the signal so it'll work again.
Now, the second question I would have, so let's just say that all that is working. So, I would say, how far away is the projector?
And it can be, probably the nearest a projector is, in my situation, is maybe 25 feet away. And then there are times where I have to run 100 feet with a projector. At the upcoming DJ show that we'll be doing in February 24th through the 27th in Las Vegas, you can check that out at djntv.com/show. At that show, we may have Jimmy who wants to have his booth way in the back of the room. We have video signal up in the front of the room that needs to get to Jimmy in the back of the room, and then it needs to get back up to two screens in the front of the room. So that could be multiple, 100-foot runs.
So is this show your way of getting me to tell you how to make that work? Or,
no, actually, I to show you how bad I was, it didn't even occur to me until we started the show. Literally started live, and it's like, wait a second,
I got to figure this out.
We got to do this in 3 weeks. That wasn't even part of my thought.
Don't worry, John, I got you. So let me just say this: 25 feet on a good quality cable, laptop to projector, no problem. I feel good about that every day.
Okay.
There's no officially defined maximum for HDMI, but really the industry kind of agrees that 50 feet is the maximum, and that is on exceptionally good cable. And we'll kind of get into the why here in a minute. But as the resolution goes up, and as the frame rate goes up, and as our color goes up, all these things amount to data. And we start talking about trying to push a lot of data through a small pipe. And, there's a difference in cables. And I just got to say this right off the bat. Not the coughing part.
Okay. I was wondering if that was part of that cycle. That was pretty, wasn't I got to say this right off the bat doing that. And it's like, well, that was anticlimactic.
This is not the coronavirus, by the way. I've had this cough since before it was cool. So, it's one of those. I picked it up in Phoenix, and I still have it, and it's driving me nuts.
All
if
the
you go back
places
and watch
pick up a cough.
Like the last 8 weeks, it's there. But I was just in San Francisco, and I'll tell you, with all that's going on, with the coronavirus, I like to call it the Kung flu, is when you cough in the San Francisco airport. I mean, people look at you like you're a leper or something. You
need to be stayed away from.
Yeah, and I'm not contagious. My wife doesn't have it. Of course, I haven't been home in 3 weeks, so I don't know, but whatever. Anyway, so there's no official max, but good cables matter. And here's the bad news. I just want to say this as I get right into this. There are differences in cables, and most times you get what you pay for. Paying more doesn't guarantee that it's better, but paying less probably guarantees it's worse. And we have a really cool tester that I wanted to bring and have on this show because we can demonstrate that. This thing will just push a signal down the line and test it on the other end, and we can just keep cranking up the resolution and the frame rate and all those sorts of things until it fails and it says this cable was good for this. Unfortunately, this tester of all things is out with our install guys where it belongs. Like, I guess they think they need it more than I need it for this show, and they're out on a job site. So, and it's a $2,500 tester. So, yeah, couldn't talk them out of it for tonight, I guess. So, but let me say that having used that tester many, many times, it doesn't matter whose name is on the cable. It doesn't matter, you know, all these sorts of things don't really matter. What matters is inside the cable. And I'm not here to pitch anybody's stuff, but I'm here to tell you absolutely 100% factually, it matters. And I've taken cables and tested them, and I've seen which ones work and which ones fail. And it's a fact. You just can't wish it away. Copper's not copper. That's a nonsense argument. We'll look at some ideas, examples here in a second. So I guess the takeaway, since I can't demonstrate it with the tester for you, is cable matters.
Sure.
Some of you will have failure at 25 feet. Some of you will be able to go 50 feet. That's a fact. All right. I got that out of my system. I feel better.
Excellent.
The other thing I guess I'll mention, since we're talking about testers, we have our really awesome nifty moat tester, which if you don't have one, you should. And you'll say, but Ben, it tests HDMI. It sure does. And you'll say, but Ben, it's only $59. Why do you have one that's $2,500? Okay, listen.
Coupon.
This thing just tells you if this is connected to that. It'll tell you if the pins are connected. So it'll look for electrical problems. It does not push and measure data. It has no ability to send and sample data packets like the other tester does. So this will not tell you. Can plug a 100-foot HDMI cable, which if you have a 100-foot HDMI cable, I mean, yes, they used to work. You're gonna have a hard time using them in the future. I can tell you that. As we crank up the resolution.
Yeah, exactly. So if a person were going at 100-foot HDMI, it possibly could work, but you're probably now maybe instead of doing a 1080p type signal, you're probably doing a 720 signal or something. That concept where it's having to reduce the resolution to be able to push that signal out that far.
Yeah, because resolution means data, and I wouldn't have advocated a 100-foot cable ever, honestly, and neither would the folks at the HDMI Alliance. But some people use them and they do work, occasionally. But again, yeah, when you start cranking up these resolutions and the frame rates and the chroma subsampling and that sort of thing, they're not going to work. So I would just say, for the purpose of this show, 100-foot cables out. My personal max is 25 feet, even though they say that you can go up to 50 feet. So let's just put that out right there. So you have a problem. You need to go 100 feet.
Yeah.
Well, there are lots of different ways we can do this. One, we could convert it to SDI, which is an entirely different video standard. And if you have higher end cameras that may have an SDI out, the higher end video switchers have SDI ins and outs. We're starting to move into a different price point here. So let's just stick with HDMI for a second here and not complicate things.
Before we jump away from SDI, is SDI a higher resolution method of transmitting video, or would it be compatible?
Yes.
Okay.
And there are things, there's SDI, which is standard def, there's HD SDI, there's 3G SDI, 6G SDI, and so on and so forth. It is a digital protocol. It travels over coax. Again, all cables are not created equal. But it is a method that allows us to send high resolution video over a distance, HD SDI, 3G SDI, that sort of thing.
Okay.
As we approach 4K and stuff, let's hang with HDMI for a minute here because it's what pretty much everybody's going to use. There are different, let's do this first. So here's a device that allows me to take a HDMI input.
Yep.
And send it to an HDMI output. And it also has, what we can see here is EDID management. Okay,
now you're going to explain that.
Yeah, extended display identification data. So basically, in the simplest of terms, EDID is the display telling the sending source what it is capable of. Display says, I can take this. And the sender then says, okay, that's what I'll give you. So basically, And there's also hot plug detect on here and other cool features. It does some utility things to kind of fix things, has RS-232, also has analog audio out and digital audio out. So I think that's probably SPDIF or something. Doesn't say exactly what type of digital audio it's sending, but let's probably SPDIF. So this thing will maybe allow you to go 100 feet, 50 feet to the box and then another 50 feet after the box. So that's one way to do it. Not a fan,
Right.
but it does the job. What I really like is a protocol called HD Base T, which I know you and I have been talking about a little bit because I just got certified to teach expert installers now. So, yay me. So viewers, no charge for this class, but you also don't get a certification. So this is not the full classroom class. Sorry.
No sticker for your wall. Sorry.
Yes. Let me show you a few slides, though. Let me pull some things up, and let's talk about what is HD Base T and why I like it. So let me do that. All right. Everybody should see my screen here. Yes? Got it?
Yep. I'm seeing it. Yep. Just making sure it's showing up nicely on the other screen, so we're good.
Oh, excellent. Good. So what you can see here is we see a lot of different cables. On top, we see an Ethernet cable. We see an HDMI cable. We see our SPDIF audio. We see a power cable. We see some RCA cables. We see a UART cable, RS-232 or 485, and we see USB. Well, HD Base T, excuse me, is a protocol that allows us to combine all of these onto a single CAT cable like CAT 5E, CAT 6, CAT 6A, CAT 7, and extend it. And we'll talk about those different CAT cables in a second. But obviously, we have serious limitations here on length. HDMI can actually go further than some of these other ones. So this will not only allow us to extend HDMI, but all of these as well as Ethernet. And here is a slide right out of their presentation, and you can see the brand new HD Base T 3.0 standard, which is just getting released. And you can see that this is a bad mamma jamma asymmetric full duplex operation where we can travel from source to sink over all four pairs up to 100 meters, so 300 feet at full 4K. And really what we're talking about here, you can see you got a 16 gigabit main link and then 2 gigabit per second aux return channel. That's how it's communicating backwards, and we're sending control back from the display and that sort of thing. Things that DJs probably aren't doing, but this was built for, serious install work. This was built for really demanding applications, and DJs frankly just benefit because this is really affordable. And it also has down here, we can see this retransmission, where basically if information is lost, it can try to send it again real quick. And so too much retransmission, obviously, and we're going to lose our signal, but it does help try to fill in some of the missing data because the data is moving very fast, faster than the actual display is running. If you have 60 frames per second, this information is coming faster than that. So it has a chance to try again a little bit, if you will.
Sure.
And here you can see that all HD Base T, while HD Base T is a standard like DMX, all HD Base T is not created equal. So one that I want to point out right away is Class D. Class D does run on the Spec 2.0, but it's limited to 30 meters on Cat 6A. And you'd say, well, I thought you just said it was 100 meters. Yes, I did. But here's the deal. For classrooms and places where we didn't need these really long runs, 30 meters was plenty long, and they could do it on a cheaper chip. So here we're back to getting what you pay for. So if your HD Base T device is Class D, it's limited to 30 meters, which is still 100 feet. So we're good for you, but only at 1080p on 6A. But if we look here, if we go, it's kind of funny. If we go fiber, you could go 4K for, tens of kilometers, as it says, so we could go, miles and miles and miles. But let's just come back up here, where we're looking at, Class C is going 4K 100 meters on Cat 6A. So that's a lot of data over a really long distance, impossible distance for native HDMI. And it's also capable of carrying all these things with it. It will actually carry up to a gigabit of Ethernet alongside. You can carry audio channels going in both directions. It'll handle up to 100 watts of power. So, there are actually HD-Base-T displays that are run from this cable. And there's a thing called POH, power over HD-Base-T. So maybe we could power the receiver or something else too, as well as USB and other control protocols. So super cool. And what I love about it is we can take two different brands that are both running HD-Base-T and plug them in together and they'll work, more on that in a second. Let's just run through a few things here. Talked about cable.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about failure. And I think most people just imagine, that you plug in a cable and something magic happens or electrons are just bumping into each other. And I don't know what people imagine, honestly, how they think stuff happens on a cable.
The stork. The stork does it. No, I'm sorry.
Maybe normal people never lay awake wondering how something goes through a cable, but I do. So, anyway, what we can see here is the way that we can send a lot more data in a given frame. They call it a symbol period, is through using what's called PAM 16. And there's PAM 2 and PAM 4 and PAM 8. But we can see here, this is PAM 16. So by using different levels instead of just simply a 1 or a 0, by using these different levels, we can transmit all kinds of, we can carry 4 bits at a time. So that allows us to carry a lot of data. But what we can see here is this is what our eye chart looks like at the sending end. But after 100 meters, we can see what that PAM 16 signal looks like on a good cable. Now, the DSP and things on the receiver is able to make sense of that and stretch it back out and turn it into a signal. But at some point, it can't. So on poorer quality cables, that turns to such utter gibberish and nonsense that it's unrecoverable. And thus, you have failure. Facts. Just for fun, here's a cool kind of a screenshot showing all the cool stuff going on in an HDMI signal. But I guess the point is, I just wanted to point out that there's data running down this cable, and it matters how it's interpreted at the other end. If things don't arrive in the right place or the right order, the signal is unusable. So it's not like just pushing water through a hose, and if the water comes in one end and goes out the other end, you got water. This has to arrive pretty precisely.
Sure.
So a quick look. Something I want to mention, if we look right across the top, you'll see category 6, Cat 6A, and Cat 7, excuse me.
Yes.
Faux pas. And we see other things called, UTP and then FUTP and FSUTP, and we'll talk about that in a second, maybe. What we don't see is Cat 5E.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, when we're talking about this type of bandwidth, we need to just forget about Cat 5E now. So, yes, you can run HD-Base-T over Cat 5E. Yes, it works for certain resolutions and distances, as we saw. But, if you're running 1080 on Class C, you can still go 100 meters. But I think in today's world, let's just forget about Cat 5E. And in fact, I kind of want to say let's forget about Cat 6.
Really?
Cat 6 will work, but Cat 6A is where it's at.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
And Cat 7 is almost a bit of a myth in the U.S., but that's what I was going to say.
I thought Cat 7 was still kind of I don't want to say an out there, but it's just not a common.
No, it isn't. And Cat 6A, well, that's another show. But bottom line, you can see that there is a construction difference. So I know you're saying, well, what's the difference? They both have, 4 24 gauge pairs, blah, 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 blah. Well, there's a difference. And I would ask if you really want to know, but you're watching this show, so you might. But that's a pretty heady topic. So how about we just stick with the pretty picture and say, we trust you, Ben, there's a difference. If not, go try it for yourself. So this is a biggie. I just spent 2 days in a room with a guy who works for UL, and UL is UL. They are the Underwriters Laboratory. They are their own entity. I think their reputation is above reproach. They're not shilling for anybody, so to speak. And this guy was telling me that there are tons of forgeries out there, buying cables on big websites on the internet that say UL, and they probably aren't.
Sure.
Putting a sticker on it doesn't make it UL. And anybody can fake this stuff. You can say anything you want, but it doesn't make it real inside. And it's like my mom always says, it's what's on the inside that counts. So bottom line, again, beware of cheap stuff. I know I feel like I'm raining on everybody's parade saying, gosh, you got to spend more. But, sometimes things that are too good to be true probably are.
Right.
And this is really, really important if we're using POH, which is power over HDBaseT, because now we're also sending, wattage through the cable and potential issues with heat and other, types of things, failures and that sort of thing. So you can go to the HDBaseT Alliance and you can look at certified cables, look for the UL hologram. Again, the counterfeiters get better and then they figure out ways to defeat them. And then the counterfeiters get better again. And, sort of a game that kind of goes on. But taking all the nerdy, heady stuff out of this, let's go back to a lighter topic. Let's talk about it working, because we're going to use a good cable. By the way, I know a place you can get some good cables.
Really? Can you tell us about that?
Here we can see this one is shielded. It's got the shielded ends.
Do we know anyone from that place?
I might know a guy.
Okay, we'll put a link in the description.
These we actually build to order. We haven't skewed them up yet, and maybe we probably should. But the truth is, most of the people who are buying this are more pro customers, and they're not shopping on the web. They're talking to us and saying, "I need this specific length. I need these specific characteristics," and we're building them for them. They may want EtherCon on the end, whatever. But anyway, one of the things you'll notice about this cable is it's rubber. So it's a rubberized, shielded Cat6 cable. So it's kind of, it's built to be coiled and uncoiled, uncoiled, used in the portable world, whereas a install cable is not.
Certainly.
You probably won't find any of these on the certified website, simply because nobody's really submitting this stuff to be certified. And maybe we should, but predominantly HDBaseT is built for install. So all the cables that are being sent in for the certification process are designed to go through walls and that sort of thing. So I will just, I guess, give you my word that our cables will work for what that's worth. So now that we've got our cable, actually, why not? Let's just talk about HDMI cables for a second. We talked about, those are not the same too. The inside of those is different. The properties are different. Here's one that tells us all the things this cable's good for.
Yeah.
But this will probably come as no surprise. You can lie about that too. You can make that stuff up. And also, the sending and receiving chips vary in quality. They were talking about a chip that was used on a very common cable box, and it was 10 cents cheaper than the better version. And so that's the one they went with, and they were just garbage chips. And so it created all these problems. Guys are going out in the field and can't get the thing to work, because DDC is not clocking right or something. And it turns out it's this cable box, and we figured out works around it. But anyway, I guess my point is that's one of the frustrating things about HDMI is there's a lot that can go wrong. But getting good stuff, good quality components will certainly increase your chances of reliability. In fact, just this weekend, a lot of people were running video because there was a football game.
Yeah.
And I had a guy who messaged me last week and he said, I have been trying these cheap HDMI splitters and cheap HDMI cables and I keep having problems. And he's like, this has to work. I need one that'll work. And, the expensive ones are not really that expensive. I think a 4-port switch was, 4-port splitter, was $150 or something. I don't remember what it was, $200 maybe, which I mean is not pocket change for a lot of people, but still it's not, exponentially expensive for what we do, relative to the other things in our industry. And anyway, he got it and he messaged me today and he was like, worked great. Thank you so much. So that $200 certainly will serve him well over many years, and it got him through this big weekend. So, okay, back to HDBaseT for a minute. So there are very simple HDBaseT devices. Here's one. You put HDMI in, and we'll just ignore the Phoenix block for now. That has IR and RS-232. Just forget about that. Okay. HDMI in, HDBaseT out. And we got a couple wheels on here for EDID management and that sort of thing. And the receiver is equally simple. HDBaseT in, HDMI output. Simple. There are others that are much more featured because we saw on that slide that HDBaseT will allow us to send a lot of things.
Yeah.
Just because the chips allow us to send a lot of things doesn't mean the manufacturers have enabled that on all devices. So clearly on this one, we don't have any USB, we don't have Ethernet or any of that stuff. It's really kind of a stripped down lower cost version. Probably great for a lot of our viewers. Here we can see one that is a bit more featured. We can see that this one has, there's my HD base T. There's my Ethernet, because Ethernet can be embedded as part of HD base T. And then we've got our HDMI input, HDMI pass-through, digital audio, analog audio, IR, IR in, IR out, and RS-232 all on this device. So that's a bit more featured device there. I do love this game that I play every night before our show called Run Through Our Office and See What Toys We Have.
I'll take this. I'll take one of those and one of those. Ooh, look at ice cream.
I need to get in early tomorrow before our tech guys get in and discover this stuff was pilfered.
We've been robbed.
I just went running through the tech room grabbing stuff. I was careful to pay attention to where I got it from, though. Anyway, here is another brand. See, this is a different brand. Mm-hmm. Yet these two things will work because HD base T is a standard. And we can see here, it looks a little bit different. This one has a long range mode and some other things like that. But at the end of the day, we can use HD base T things with each other. In fact, screen share coming. Let's see. Screen share coming. Anticlimactic pause. Please, please hold. Please hold.
Please stand by.
Please stand by. I had too many screens open in front of me. All right, there we go. You should see a projector.
Yes, we do. We see the business side of the projector.
So this projector has all kinds of cool things on it. HDMI. Here's our RGB HV, composite video, blah 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 blah. LAN control for IP control, and this right here is an HD base T. We can see there's the HD base T logo.
Yeah. So
we don't even need a receiver for this projector. We can take one of these transmitters and go over Cat 6, Cat 6A, whatever we're using, and plug right into this projector and done. And a lot of those control things would be carried over that as well. So that is a cool thing. Now you'd say, well, what if I need to send this signal to a couple different places? Let's say I've got two screens that are 100 feet apart from each other, that sort of thing. Check this guy out. Here is a HD base T splitter. And there are many versions of this, and there are some really cool things coming out in version 3.02. Can't really talk about that just yet. But this is relatively affordable. I won't say inexpensive, but it's affordable, reassuringly expensive. But here you can see I've got an HDMI in, I've got an HDMI out, so I could have a local monitor, or I could go 25 feet to that first TV you talked about.
Right.
And then I've got three HD base T outputs that I could go, potentially 100 meters each on. So some really cool things. And again, I could plug that right into an HD base T enabled projector, or I could use another HD base T certified receiver.
Are the projectors that have the HT base T, were those projectors, are they exponentially more expensive, or are those pretty much in line with the others?
Maybe $100 more sometimes, which is, that's crazy cheap when we're thinking about what it's putting in there for you. And in fact, I guess if there's any left, viewers, get out your credit cards and call your favorite NLFX person.
Do we have one of those?
Well, probably Katie, but I'd be second place. Okay. Maybe I'm third behind Kat. I don't know. Linnea's pretty good too, so maybe I'm in fourth place. I'm just kind of hoping that nobody knows, like Sam or Cheyenne or anyone else.
They haven't met them yet, but
Lee or Nate or pretty much everybody's cooler than me. Actually, I'm probably kind of towards the bottom of the list. Well, so just call one of them,
call somebody, yeah.
Or if you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, you can call me. But we had one of the best-selling models of projector was the Optima EH515, and it is discontinued and gone. And we were able to negotiate with Optima for the remaining 34 pieces that were left as of a couple of days ago. I don't know what's left now. The EH515T, which is exactly the same but has the built-in HD base T. In fact, that's the one you just saw.
Yeah.
Same price. So $0 more right now while supplies last. And when they're gone, unfortunately, they're gone. Everything's going to laser, and it's going to be a lot more expensive. But these are great. I have a bunch of them I use for corporate AV work, small ballrooms, monograms. They have horizontal and vertical keystone. They're a full 1080p, great contrast ratio, dynamite projector, and built-in HD base T, which pretty awesome.
Excellent.
I feel like I brought more toys here. I guess maybe I ran through them all.
Well, let's see. We've talked about sending signals a variety of different ways. Let's just spend a couple of seconds. You won't have images and such. Let's talk a little bit about wireless HDMI signals. There's some potential drawbacks with anything wireless, as we've talked. So let's kind of dig into that just a little bit, because if you go and search on some of those big websites and you do wireless HDMI, they're like, oh, here's an option. Here's an option.
So it comes down to data. It comes down to everything we just talked about with a cable. Now we have to do without a cable. And I've sold a lot of devices. Many people, sing my praises because they work. Probably before long, they're not going to, because they're going to try to push signals that are too high resolution, or the bandwidth is going to get more crowded. So I'm always, trying to caution people and say, well, this is the best of the worst. This is what works most of the time. And again, there are more reliable and less reliable ways, but for me, I just wouldn't. I just don't find any of the wireless ones reliable enough to go 100% on. And I'm sure there are people who've bought wireless solutions from me that are gasping right now, and they're probably saying, "But mine works," and I hope it always does. Gosh, it would have to be a really compelling reason why I couldn't run a wire. I have enough problems with cables,
Sure.
let alone wanting to go without cables. So many things could change environmentally with wireless. Once that event gets a room, full of people, more and more intercom and things are moving into 5 gigahertz. So 2.4 is already crowded. 5 is getting crowded. Gosh, when you're trying to push 17 point odd gigabytes of data over the air, especially if we're trying to do something like we talked about, earlier, 4K 60 444, that's the chroma subsampling, uncompressed. At some point we have to start compressing things, and even going to like a 4K, 22 or 4K 60 422 is going to save us about 30%, but there is image loss. And so what HD-based-T again allows us to do is to send that uncompressed. Whether or not that matters is up to you. Maybe you don't need 4K, maybe 1080 is fine. I just want to put it out there and let people decide. But yeah, wireless, it's at your own risk. If you want to buy something, I'll tell you what I think is the best of the worst. Mm-hmm. And you're probably thinking, boy, you're a lousy salesperson. You're right. I'm a pretty good friend.
They're asking about the projector. Can you give us a little thing on that one more time, please?
Yeah, it's the Optima EH515T. Don't bother Googling it. Just buy it from us. Can't tell you the price because it's a pretty good price. But if you message me or Katie or Linnea or any of the other cooler people than me, they'll tell you. It's 5,500 lumen, full 1080p, horizontal and vertical keystone, 4-corner correction. I forget the contrast ratio, but it's a lot, 30,000 to 1 or something like that. Or I don't know. It's good enough for, monograms for sure. And just a great looking projector. And again, has that HD-based-T on board. So you can pick up an HD-based-T sender from us and just bam, plug it in and you're off to the races.
And just for the purpose of the discussion, that sender, what kind of a price is a person looking at for something like that?
I forget off the top of my head because, as I just mentioned, I'm a lousy salesperson. But I want to say maybe $150.
Okay, so
200.
Under a couple hundred.
I mean, even for the really nice ones, you're not more than like $250. It's my recollection. So I could be wrong, but they're almost disproportionately cheap to the problem they solve in my mind. So
if I just so I can visualize this, my house, you've been here at the office in the house, so I could put my camera here, and I could have like my HDMI camcorder, what have you. I could run that. I could run my 100 meters to the house, and I could have the projector putting my face on the garage doors, and I could do one on each garage door, and I could feel special.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't have much latency at all.
No. You will have a problem with Lori, I think, but
there could be that. But we're assuming that she's not home.
I can solve your technical challenges, just not your marriage ones.
Why is his face on the garage doors again? Well, you see,
But yeah, you could totally do that.
I
You could
can
absolutely
do it.
that.
That doesn't mean I should, but I can.
Yeah, you know, another way to think about that is maybe a more pragmatic way is that you could have video equipment in both locations and send the information back and forth. So there's some really cool things, and we're getting off the beaten path here, but HD Base T will actually allow you to send 4 video streams at like 720 or 2 at 1080 on Spec 3. So over a single cable, you could send, 4 cameras worth or something. And that, again, I really should just kind of leave that out of the discussion. So viewers just forget I said that. Don't call me and ask me how to do it, because that's, if you're doing an install or something, let's talk. But if, for portable use, let's just say simple. You plug this in, you plug that in, it works.
You're good to go.
That's what we want, right? We plug it in on one end, we plug it in on the other end. Oh, the really cool thing, by the way, HD Base T chips talk to each other basically. So you're always limited by the lowest common denominator. So again, if we had a Class C chip talking to a Class D chip, we're going with the Class D. 30 meters, 1080p, that's the max.
Okay.
Doesn't matter that Class C is capable of much more. But basically Class C says, hey, chip, what can you do? And the chip says, I can do this. And it says, all right, that's what I'll send you. So it really is almost plug and play. It really is. You just plug it in. The two things say, I can do this. Can you do that? For example, if we took this thing that has all the bells and whistles, Ethernet and USB and everything else on it, and we said, hey, man, I want to talk to you. This thing is going to say, just video, please.
Video.
Nothing else. I'm a simple chip. I'm a simple device. Just send me what I can handle. And it says, all right, I will. And so it doesn't even bother trying to send that, which, frees up some more bandwidth. So that's a pretty cool deal. Again, you can buy this projector. The projector has a Class A chip on board, by the way, in case anybody wanted to know. And so, we would have the Class A limitations, which pretty closely align with the projector's output capabilities anyway, 1080p, that sort of thing. But we could buy these other devices with, a Class A or better, and then the weak point would be the projector, and we're still rocking at 1080. Mm-hmm. So
nice.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Just, again, plug and play, no IP addresses, no configuration, nothing wrong with AV over IP. There's other standards and protocols, we use them all, but there's right fits for different things. And this, I think, is the perfect fit. We've sold a lot of these to DJs before, and it just works, which I know is what DJs want.
Excellent. I'm going to try to put I'm going to try to put that link to the projector.
Oh, is it on our site?
Well, I have the 515T.
Yeah, EH515T.
EH.
I will tell you this: the price your viewers are going to get is better than the price on our website.
Okay.
So
I don't see EH, but there's a lot of 515.
You know what? Just message us.
Yeah.
Just call us, message us. Please don't comment on this video for that, because we may not see it in a timely fashion.
Yep, for sure.
Please reach out directly to us, customercare@nlfxpro.com. You can always Facebook or email me, ben@nlfxpro.com, Katie at nlfxpro.com. Very simple email addresses. We're not very smart people. So and Katie is Katie, by the way. So Katie@nlfxpro.com. And you know what? Just drop us a line. And while those are available, if you're watching this video years in the future, I'm sorry, they're probably gone.
It's all gone. They're all gone.
If you're watching this video weeks in the future, I'm sorry, they're probably gone. But for now, you can snap one of those up.
Excellent. Well, that sounds great. Again, you guys heard all the different contact methodologies. I also put the link down so you can go check out, because it is on the website, and you can go see that, and then give Katie a call tomorrow morning. She'll be in, and then you guys can get yourself all hooked up. So,
yeah,
Ben,
so give me my discount.
Ben said.
I sat through listening to Ben foam at the mouth and rant and rave about cables and bit rates and everything else. I deserve a discount. Doggone it, I want it.
And just say it just exactly like that too, please.
Yeah, if you don't say it like that, you don't get the discount.
No, you won't get a discount. They'll be like, yeah, you didn't watch Ben's show.
Yeah, you did not watch that show.
You would still have the twitch going on, the nervous twitch, if you watched the show. Well, Ben, thank you much for the information. There's a lot of good stuff. And now again, I didn't even think about the projectors in Vegas. We got to deal with that.
Yeah, let's talk.
We'll talk about that off this show because Jimmy's probably sitting here. It's about time John thinks about that. You know, he's been saying, "What are we doing?" And it's like screens, projectors. What? I need to figure out. You know,
we have some stuff that we can I can maybe send down, and you can. I gotta send you some stuff anyway from my master class. So I'll. If you need some gear, we've got some stuff.
We'll figure that out. But yeah, just completely slipped mind. So thank you guys for being with us tonight. Brian and I will be back in about 15 minutes tonight. We're going to be talking about the whole concept of adding a sub to your sound system. He's been digging into that. And we're going to go into a little bit different angle with that tonight. So we'll see you in about 15.
Sounds good.